Jose Aldo, guys. Help me. Help me. I'm on third base wearing a catcher's mitt. I'm trying to understand this. Now, Jose's amazing. I went as far as to call Jose Aldo an inspiration. I don't know of a stronger word that I could use or that I ever have used. And you know where this is going. I'm going to build Jose because it's going to take a turn. But I don't want it to. I want you to make sure that I am very clear-eyed in remembering 12 years undefeated. A guy that was so good he had never stepped in the octagon and they gave him the belt and nobody argued. You remember that? Jose Aldo had never been in the octagon and they presented him the world championship and nobody, including guys who had been in there, nobody said that was wrong. They all understood. He was the best. And you don't always have that. We will have world champions, but they haven't proven that they're the best in the world. They're on their way, and they've showed it against a few guys who were in this organization, but we see that over time. That's a little bit yesteryear. But Jose's been around a long time. He dates back to that. Nobody questioned. I mean, this guy's phenomenal. 145 pounds later in life, he wants the championship so damn bad. He changes his physiology. He changes his lifestyle. As an adult, becomes a 135-pounder, only takes on the absolute best guys. I mean, this guy is awesome. What George St. Pierre was to wrestling offense, Jose Aldo was to wrestling defense. Ever been as good as George was at taking you off your feet, Jose was as good as staying on his. Just a phenomenal fighter. If Jose retired, that would be a very somber moment. That would be a death of a career, of a beloved career in MMA. And that is the way we would tell the story, and hard stop. But I never thanked Jose. I never thanked him, and I never paid tribute to his career over here, Bad Guy Inc. Studios, because I'm not sure that's what happened. I mean, if we're still along the journey, we'll go on the journey. I felt as though what I was watching after Jose's last fight, when he got down on his knees and he had this conversation with Merab, I felt as though that was the retirement. He was saying goodbye. And a few weeks went by so that you're not making any decisions based on emotion, and he came out and he did just that, but not so fast. It was a retirement from MMA, and he asked for a release from the Ultimate Fighting Championship so that he could sign somewhere else. Now that's boxing. And this is where I need your guys' help. I don't know what it is that I'm not seeing. So many of these fighters want to go into boxing. And that's fine. That's a sport that we like, and it's dumbing it down, right? I came from wrestling. I had to leave wrestling to get into MMA because wrestling was only one part. If I went back to wrestling, I would be stepping down from MMA, and that's okay. If there's a place to go in boxing, if that's what you would like to do with your life, and damn, Jose Aldo can box, I don't question any of these things. I'm just not sure where historically with a lineage you could tell me over time who else has done this. You guys all heard of Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins. He goes and puts these seminars on there. They're like 3 days. You come in on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you got to pay $10,000. And there's people that come in, they can barely scrape this together. They say it was worth every cent. I know a guy that went, Robert Follis, he absolutely loved it. Tony made him feel great. But at the end of the day, at the end of all the hoorah, if you go read Anthony Robbins' books, #1 motivational speaker in the world. He's very good at what he does. But once you get through all the books and all the chapters and all the 3 days, there's one premise. He will tell you, you don't have to reinvent anything. Go and find somebody who's already done what it is you want to do, and then copy them. Study that guy. See if you can take him to lunch. See if you can sit him down and ask him, how'd you do this? How'd you do this? Just go copy the guy. And it is excellent advice. I come from the world of MMA, guys. I have never used a technique that I made up. I've never used a technique that I went into the lab, being in the training room, and worked with some partner and came up with. Clayton Shire showed me. I had somebody show me them. I'm sitting there watching on TV. I saw a guy do it, monkey see, monkey do. It's a really good way to learn. It's a really good way to be successful. So I just want to know where we're getting this in the world of MMA and why it's not going away. I do know about the time that Conor McGregor, who was a simultaneous once-in-a-lifetime attraction, took on Floyd Mayweather, who is the greatest, most bankable boxer of two eras. I do know that. I don't know where I see MMA guys going into boxing. I keep hearing it. I keep being told they want to do it. This is what they're going to do. Now, I could get real technical there. And I could tell you about some short notice fights. My buddy Tyron Woodley got a slip in there with this famous YouTuber who is now proving that he's a legitimate boxer and a legitimate contender. He takes the sport very seriously. That wasn't the story at the time. I'm going to bring that to you because this idea of an MMA guy going over to boxing, the two examples that I just gave you, neither one of them had to do with an MMA guy going over to boxing. They went and did something. They went and did an extravaganza. They went and did something very fun. They went and did a spectacle, and they contested under boxing rules. So where is this idea that MMA guys can go to boxing? I'm just asking the question. I want to make money on it. There's nobody in this business that's tied to every single side of the business but me. From athlete to trainer to manager to commentator to promoter. And I don't shine my own wheels. I'm just sharing with you. I see things. I know what's going on out there. I get in front of it. I take part in it. I am a licensed promoter in the state of Oregon. I am licensed to do boxing. If this is the thing, if MMA guys, and when they get old and you're no longer over here, you're not selling out arenas over here, you're not even a main event, and you can leave that with whatever, right, you got to knock some dust off you. I wasn't good enough to do what I did there, but it's good enough for you guys, right? And I get that part way. I swear to God, still feel pretty good. I can move around a little bit. But if I slowed down, if I was hurt and I needed money, I would go join the NFL. Like, I do get it to some degree that these other sports are lower than us. But they're going to know, the Ravens and the Rams, they're going to know. He's not in his prime. That's why he's over here with us. And if you set all of that aside, where is this idea that you can go from MMA to boxing? And whether it was Floyd, whether it was Conor, whether it was T. Wood, whether it was Jake Paul, you have stars. You have massive stars that got together and decided to contest it under boxing rules. If you come from the world of MMA and you're not the main event, I mean, right, it's tough. It's tough, but it's the reality. Somebody needs to grab you. Somebody in your inner circle's not telling you this. If the sport that you were in, you were not the marquee filling up arenas, it would show you that your time in that sport is, and now you're talking about going into something else, and I'm wondering where the market is. I don't know what the history of the lineage is of fighters doing this. I continue to hear it. MMA guy's going to go over to boxing. I continue to hear it. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And I'm very open to the idea. Now, there's parts of the world that absolutely love boxing. What if you took this to Tijuana? What if you took this to Havana? What if you took this to British Columbia? I mean, what if you go find the market and you set up the ring and you put these guys in there? Whatever it is, they're going to come over to boxing. Well, let's just say they love boxing that much. They love boxing, and that's where I'm going to go set this thing up. Okay, great. Are they going to know what a Jose Aldo is? Because if they're diehard boxing fan, how are they going to know what a Jose Aldo is? He's not a boxer. He came from MMA. And I just get confused on this. I wish Jose the best. I want this to all work out. Truly and sincerely. No part of me is looking to be a jerk about this. I'm asking a question. I feel like maybe it is a tough question. Perhaps it's one that nobody has asked Jose. But before you go in the gym every day, right? Go get yourself a tennis ball. Go get a racket. Hey, you made it. World champion, will be remembered. Absolute lock for the Hall of Fame. Popular guy and a good-looking guy on top of everything else. Like, Jose, you won. So before you go into the gym each day and you start skipping your little rope and you start throwing punches at somebody, throwing punches back at you, thinking that that's good exercise, go get on a stair stepper. Go get yourself a treadmill. There's another way. It's a way that you qualify for. You did it. But if you have somebody that you're trying to leverage known as a manager, and he's not leveling with you, just say, hey, I'm not your guy. I have no pipelines. I've never done this before. I've never taken an MMA guy and moved him over to boxing. Let me leave it at that. This is before we start being a jerk and saying, no longer champion, on a losing streak, not the main event. That's before we start saying these things that could hurt someone's feelings. Let's just take an MMA guy and move him over to boxing. Let's just do that. Show me somewhere that that's happened. Conor McGregor did. Conor McGregor is a once-in-a-lifetime attraction who is a simultaneous sitting and reigning UFC champion. It's important that you understand that concept. And if you won't concede that point to me, okay, fine, I'll concede it right back to you. You win. Conor McGregor did it. Absolutely. Who else? Well, Tyron Woodley went out there and he made $2 million. Okay, great, but he didn't go and take on a boxer. Now, I understand that that's not how it looks now. Jake Paul's starting to get serious. The WBA is talking about giving him a ranking. I understand that that's changing. I understand he's about to get in there with Anderson Silva. I understand those things. Not the night that Tyron did it. Didn't have anything to do with MMA taking on boxing. It was not sustainable. It was not a multi-fight contract. Tyron didn't get to go do it every 3 months for a couple of years. So who are these promoters that are signing MMA guys to box? What do those contracts look like? Are they sustainable? The one thing that boxing never did, I mean, it's one of the great things that Dana White has ever pulled off. He's never been given credit. It might be, honestly, it might be the single, as far as the pure sport goes, the business side of it, he gets all sorts of accolades. As far as the pure sport goes, the greatest trick Dana ever pulled. And he had to change the world. He had to change perception as Dana made losing acceptable. We got a guy in MMA fighting for a world championship. 17 wins, 11 losses. That's a real record. One of my favorite fighters ever. His name's Randy Couture. Won multiple world championships, 17 wins and 11 losses. We made losing acceptable. It was the best against the best. It was iron on top of iron. You're not going to win them all. We bring in the absolute best guy and we put you against them. Champions versus contenders. Losing became acceptable. If you go over to boxing and you suffer a loss, could he come back? I mean, is it a one-off? So that's the other side of the conversation. If you know something Chael doesn't, if you've got an in with a promoter and you're this close to getting signed, you can go and get your guy paid for whatever it is, however you're going to do that. And people, the only reason boxing exists is because you will continue to find people willing to lose money. But let's say you've got one and I don't know about it. It's never been done. It's a new guy. He's from your hometown, whatever it is. He's your uncle's cousin's friend's bus driver. You got a connection I don't know about. I'm going to ask you one more. One more quick. Great job and congratulations. And you have taught me something and you have shoved a whole bunch of words right down my throat. But as I'm swallowing them, I'm going to ask you one follow-up question. If you lose this match, is there any reasonable belief you'll ever get another one? Because the best boxers in the world have to tell you no. Best boxers in the world. Olympians and Olympic medalists and Junior Golden Gloves champions, the best. If they suffer, they move down the card. So you're going to get an MMA guy, you're going to move over into a field. He's an older guy. He's not licensed to box. He doesn't even have a weight class yet. He's got absolutely no record. He did a different sport, not in a headlining spot. I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to pay him a bunch of money. Okay, great. Well, you're probably going to have to put him against somebody pretty good. Considering this guy isn't a boxer, you're probably going to have to bring in a boxer. Can we at least agree that no matchmaker is dumb enough to not do that? And now that you do, if it goes the way the odds makers think, which is the MMA guy is getting brought in for nothing more than his name, and he loses the fight, can he ever do it again? It's okay if the answer is no. There's once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. They're one-off all the time in life. But is that a plan? Is that sustainable? And if somebody told you yes, you sat down at a business meeting and you extended a contract with a manager or perhaps even signed one, if that manager told you yes, Let me ask him the hard question. He's welcome to come on my program. Who is he? Where are you going to fight? And is it sustainable?